Hey y'all, Brendan here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Arc V2 from Imperial Workshop. So I have mentioned my Neopixel lightsabers in a previous lightsaber video, the Saber's Workshop lightsaber video comparing the old and new pieces to each other. And so I wanted to do a little overview of my Neopixel lightsabers, starting with the first one that I bought ever, and that is this one, the Arc V2 from Imperial Workshop. Now I will say that this is the first experience that I ever had with a Neopixel lightsaber, and so to start with, I was absolutely blown away when I first bought this lightsaber. So there's a few things that I want to go over: the build quality, the elements of this particular saber hilt, the blade quality, the brightness, the sound, and the pros and cons of this particular lightsaber hilt. So I'm going to go over firstly the pros of this hilt. The pros start with the price. Now normally Neopixel lightsabers are going to run you $400, $500, $600, $700, all the way up into the thousands if you want to get the really fancy ones. This lightsaber, however, is only $240. Actually, right now they have the V3 available and it is still only $240. And this is not a sponsored video. This is just something that is really neat to know, that there are Neopixel lightsabers available that are not going to be stupidly expensive, and they're still going to be pretty good quality. And so the price is the first pro that I will list about this lightsaber, only $240. They actually have Neopixel lightsabers on ImperialWorkshop.com starting around the $160 range. So it's just wild that you can get Neopixels for that price, because that is like the same price that you're going to be paying for the legacy lightsabers in the Disney park, and even then you have to buy a blade as well, and they are nowhere near the visual quality of the blades and such, and the sounds, the smooth swing, everything that a Neopixel has that the legacies don't. Well, that is going to be something that is definitely a tipping point towards Neopixel over buying a legacy lightsaber from Disney. So the second one is, I'm gonna say, the size of the hilt. Now this one's really cool. It's a little bit longer than a lot of the other ones that they have, the hilt wise. So this is about a full-on foot long, and so it's a pretty long hilt as compared to most of the ones that you will see legacy lightsaber or other Neopixels or baselit or whatever. And so yeah, it's a long boy, it's a long one. It also has some neat design elements. This one has an exposed crystal chamber. It also has a pretty neat emitter design. This is a single button operation saber. So this is a Xenopixel board. So it is different from a Profi. It's different from the other ones. This is its own thing. So it's a Xenopixel board. And so this is a single button operation. And then you can see that you have your charging port there just above the button as well. It also has a CoverTech wheel on it, so that if you want to carry it on your belt, you can buy a CoverTech clip and you can hook this on your belt. It's a really light lightsaber. I know that that sounds like a play on words, but if you take off the blade is actually heavier than the hilt itself. And so the hilt is extremely lightweight. It's super easy to handle. It is made from aircraft grade aluminum. Now the aluminum, I will say, is going to actually play into a con that I'll mention in a minute, but otherwise that is a great feature because it does make it where it's not very heavy. Legacy lightsabers are pretty hefty in the hand, especially if you have something like these Saber's Workshop lightsabers. Actually, this is the closest one I had at hand. I have lightsabers everywhere. But yeah, so this is something that's really chunky, I will say. It's really heavy, but it's because of the pieces that you put on here are solid metal. As opposed to this, this thing is just a feather in comparison to this. And so there's a big difference in weight between this Neopixel saber and this one here, or any other legacy lightsaber. Another cool element of this saber is that when you take off the blade, it actually has LEDs in the area where the little pogo points are, where the connection points of the blade. And so those will show the same as the color of your blade as well, just like the crystal. So that's a cool element that I do like. So this has some really cool things going for it. It is a neat looking hilt. It's very light. It has the CoverTech wheel, has the exposed crystal chamber, which is a really cool visual element. It also has as all Neopixels do. Smooth swing, and this one's actually a very, very loud lightsaber. So this is volume level 10. It'll go 1 through 10. 1 is muted, 10 is the loudest. So it's a very loud lightsaber. Now, you may notice that I think that my particular one has a bit of a speaker defect. It is a couple of years old, and so I don't know how that happened, because this one has not really seen much dueling, and well, it's not seen much dueling because of a con that I'll mention here in a minute as well. But yeah, this one has not seen much dueling or any kind of drops or anything, so I'm not exactly sure how the speaker damage has happened, but it does have, you can hear that little bit of sound it's doing. So it does have a little bit of a scratchiness to the sound, especially when it is on its loudest setting. So I think that's just a quality of the speaker itself. Probably is something that's not the highest quality. But again, you know, the electronics in these are still perfectly fine, perfectly usable. You may get higher end electronics if you do something like a more expensive Saber and choose maybe a different board. I don't know how all that works, because I haven't had a chance to really get hands-on with those, and I am just an enjoyer, so I don't necessarily know all the ins and outs of how the electronics works. But anyways, it's just something on my particular example is a little bit of a speaker crackle issue there. So maybe that's something that has been fixed down the line. I will also say that, of course, another pro of Neopixels in general is the blade. The blade brightness is incredible as compared to something like a Disney Saber. Okay, so this is my Luke Skywalker Saber. It's Hasbro, Disney, whatever you want to call it. There's a clear winner here, obviously. This is insanely bright as compared to this, and this is not as bright as the Art Sabers though. So, you know, I will say, for the price, you're getting an amazing saber from Imperial Workshop, and it is way brighter than anything Disney is going to produce ever, as far as I can tell or predict. And so, yeah, this saber is really cool. Oh, and the exposed crystal chamber, the crystal actually glows the color of whatever color your blade is. If you have an effect going, like the fire blade or something, or the flicker of this Codex of Light, you can see that the crystal is doing the flicker as well. So it's a pretty neat effect. It's a really neat effect. I also love all the gesture controls of this saber, such as the twisting to turn it on and off. You can also you can press the button to turn it on.
Dark Ages.
And then my wife's personal favorite way to turn on the lightsaber is the stabbing. So, you know, if you have it down here and you're like, you want to do that whole thing like that. I like that sound profile. It sounds like a sword. I love it. So anyways, there's a lot of really cool things that you can do with these sabers, not to mention as well. So I'm gonna turn down the volume. So you hold the button, hit the blade or hit the hilt, and then it'll go into sound mode. So you can tap the button.
Volume level 3.
Okay, I set it to 3. You hold the button, hit it again to go out. So now it's a lot quieter. So I will say it's really cool how you can choose the colors with this particular type of board. You hold it upside down, hold the button and twist, and then you rotate the lightsaber to get the color that you want. So let's say we're gonna make this, I will suggest having your finger on the button so that then when you go to lock it in, it's easy. So let's do a nice like cyan. Okay, and then you hold down the button.
Color selected.
And there we go, color selected. So yeah, very cool way to do it. So yeah, I love all of the functions of the lightsaber are fantastic. Like I said, this is my first Neopixel lightsaber that I ever bought, and I was blown away with it. Now, those are a lot of pros to this saber. The price, the design is really cool, the effects, the colors and everything. I mean, you know, it's pretty cool. Overall, it's really cool, especially, like I said, compared to the Disney sabers. There are a few cons though, and these are things to consider when buying this lightsaber. So firstly, let's talk about the blade and then just go down. We'll go blade and then hilt design and everything. So the blade is not as bright or high quality as some other suppliers, and this is something that might have been remedied in the years since. Like I said, I've had this one for a couple of years, and so this particular blade that came with it is not the brightest. I'm going to change it to a red color profile. Red LEDs are the dimmest of all of the LED colors. So if you can get a bright red out of an LED, that means that it is a really high quality LED. And so that is something that you can compare these on the red setting. There we go. So there's a good red. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn off my studio lights here, and we're gonna see the brightness difference. I'm gonna turn down the brightness of the camera, turn off these lights, and we're gonna see the brightness difference between this one and my Vader saber back here that was backlighting me, and now it turned off. So when did that happen? Anyways, okay, y'all ready for this? Here we go. So this is the Imperial Workshop. This is the Art Sabers. Yeah, there is a noticeable difference in the brightness. Looking at the camera monitor here, the Art Sabers is significantly brighter than the Imperial Workshop. This is because, so this one went out because the battery died. I just charged it for about 15 minutes, and this one has a full charged battery. This one has about a 15 minutes of charged battery. And so the Imperial Workshop is just still, with a full battery, way darker as far as brightness goes than the Imperial Workshop. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't know if this is something that has been changed in recent years. The blade quality might have come way further. So Imperial Workshop, you wanna send me a saber to review, a brand new one that is recently released maybe? I would love to do it. So yeah, keep that in mind. So that is the first con of this particular brand as far as a couple of years ago. Like I said, I don't know if the blades are any better now than they were a couple of years ago, so that might be something that you would have a different experience with. Also, the first blade that I got, this is actually the second blade that came from them to me. The first blade I got had a slight warp in it. As you look down it, it was literally bowed. So that was something that was a little annoying, but thankfully their customer service was good. They got it taken care of for me. I sent back the old blade, they sent me a new one, and we were all set to go from there. So the next con of the saber is down on the hilt itself. And this is something that really can only be attributed to this saber and then other sabers that may have the same type of design issue. And that is with the emitter, you actually have these little grooves in it that look really cool. However, this is a lightsaber that could actually cut off your hand, or at least a finger, because these are literally cutting edges. Because it's circular, you have these straight in cuts. If you have a curve and you put a slice into it, that's not just a 90-degree angle, that is literally an acute angle. So it's an actual cutting edge. And I say this from experience. I have literally cut myself holding the saber here, doing some spinning. My friend Rob has pretty seriously cut himself on this. I have cut myself even on the exposed crystal chamber edge here. And so there's a lot of cutting edges on this saber that are not the blade. And so this is not the type of cutting off limbs that you want from a lightsaber. You want the blade to be doing that, not the hilt itself. So the hilt is actually somewhat dangerous. Also, these front edges of the hilt, again, because of these angles, are very sharp. You could actually stab somebody with this. and it would do some serious damage. Coming further down the hilt, like I said, the exposed crystal chamber is really cool, but those edges are sharp. And again, these two design elements of the emitter area are really only on this particular saber. This is not an Imperial Workshop issue. It's just this particular saber has these issues, so watch out for these. Another design element issue, the insertion depth of the blade into the hilt is only about 1 inch, so it's not really that much. Also, this is not a very positive blade connection, so when it's in here, let me try and make this where you can actually, like, there's a lot of play in that. And then really, because of these little fin thingies it's not completely solid until, you know, getting down to about right here. So really, your real insertion depth, as you can see on the blade by where these marks are from the set screws, that's where the set screws tighten down. And that's only about 1/2 inch. So that's the only part of the hilt that's actually really holding onto the blade. So even when you tighten down these set screws all the way, as tight as you can, without splitting the blade, there is still wiggle in the blade and the handle. And so that's something that you can really feel whenever you are spinning it, whenever you are trying to duel with it. It's something that is very noticeable. And so again, this is just an issue with this particular hilt design. This is not an Imperial Workshop issue. So this particular hilt design. So the next issue to cover about this is really just the CoverTech wheel. This is not the original CoverTech wheel. I actually had to replace this one. I ordered a replacement, and this replacement came with a belt clip, which is pretty cool. So I replaced it because this aluminum is so very soft that the screw that actually was holding the original CoverTech wheel on, it stripped out. It was a very fine tooth screw, and so when you're dealing with softer metals like aluminum, you can't use anything fine tipped like that because it is going to be prone to stripping out. So, you know, you need something really beefy toothed as far as screws go to make them where they're going to really grab onto that metal and it's not going to easily just strip out. And that's what happened. It wasn't even from use of the CoverTech wheel. It was literally just existing, and it eventually just fell out and got lost. And so it wasn't even from using it, honestly. So I replaced this. I put a really beefy screw in there to hold it in, and I put some super glue as well, and it has been perfectly mounted ever since. So that's something to consider as well with this being an aluminum hilt, even though it is very, very light and very, very nice feel in the hand, even if it is a little thin, but it's a very soft metal, so that is prone to stripping out. And then you do have the speaker issue that I mentioned at the beginning, but that is something that I think is just due to its age, probably just not the highest quality electronics in it to start with. So there are some awesome pros to this saber. There are a few cons as well. This one in particular, I would not recommend for dueling, even though it does have a wonderful size for, you know, that real original trilogy style two-handed lightsaber fighting, but it is really cool for show and tell. It's a great conversation starter, obviously, walking around with a lightsaber, and it also has some really neat features just due to the electronics that are in it, and it's a really cool looking saber. You can do a lot of things with these. I saw someone's video review of this saber where they weathered it. They used some sandpaper and some other methods to weather it, and it looks really, really cool. So there's a lot of cool things you can do to this hilt and make it look absolutely fantastic. So like I said, this one is not necessarily the best for dueling. It is really great for display though, and just carrying around if you're not gonna be doing any spinning or dueling with it, because like I said, it is rather dangerous. It will draw blood. I have had it happen several times. Overall, I would absolutely recommend one of these as your first Neopixel purchase. Like I said as well at the beginning, Imperial Workshop has a lot of great options when it comes to affordable entry-level NeoPixels. They are fairly basic saber hilts, but they do look still really good, and the price looks even better. I hope that everybody has enjoyed learning a bit about the Arc V2. Like I said, there is a V3 available on imperialworkshop.com right now. And this is, as I mentioned earlier, not a sponsored video, but Imperial Workshop, if y'all are watching, would love to be able to compare this older saber to a brand new one. So please do reach out. Everybody, if you have one of the Imperial Workshop hilts, if you have this one or a newer one or an older one, just let me know what your thoughts are about those hilts down in the comments, especially compared to any other NeoPixel hilts that you might have. Now, the Vader did die again while I was finishing up this video, but again, it only had about 15 minutes of charge. And so I will be doing a review of the Art Saber's Darth Vader NeoPixel Lightsaber in the coming weeks, so stay tuned for that. I'll be doing a compare and contrast between that one and this one, and showing you all of the features and design elements of the Art Saber's Darth Vader lightsaber. Until next time, may the Force be with you. Here, kitty, 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 kitty. Ah! Missed.